Hi, everyone. This is Pam Torrey from Ingage, and you're listening to the Engaged podcast. We know tech is changing the way people market and sell now more than ever. And on this show, I sit down with sales and marketing thought leaders and experts to learn how you can create, share, and measure your way to success. Today, I'm chatting with Engage's senior product designer, Alex Saretzky, who you may know as the voice behind our YouTube videos and from our webinars. He's here to share his tech and product expertise and how your business can transform with the power of the right tech stack. Thanks for joining us, Alex.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so just for some context for the listener, I talk to Alex pretty much every single day. Alex is part of the marketing team at Engage, so I have the privilege of watching him do his job every day and of getting to interact with his expertise. So I am very excited to be able to share you with our audience in a different capacity.
Yeah, no, super fun. I've actually never done a podcast before. I've listened to a lot of them, and yeah, so I'm excited to do one.
Awesome. So, Alex, most of our listeners know you from our webinars, our how to videos, the Engage 101 series on YouTube. But can you share more about your background and how it brought you not only to Engage, but also to the role that you're currently in right now?
Yeah, so the times you see me doing YouTube videos and webinars, that's kind of the tip of the iceberg. Most of my time I spend, working closely with the product and engineering team to develop the product and work on new features and figure out, what's going to be of value to users and how people's minds work when they approach something like building an interactive presentation. I've been at Engage for something like 12 years. When I started, the iPad 2 was the current iPad on the market, so it was a new device. We were doing magazines like Esquire and Oprah, and we were doing interactive kids books, and we were trying to figure out like how to build a business around developing interactive content. And we started working with some enterprise customers, some big pharma customers, and we realized that there was a huge market there, and it was extremely difficult to develop content. And so the dream was always to build a platform where you could literally do it on your iPad, or anybody could develop incredible interactive content for these touch-based devices without having to write code, or without having to know your way around professional design tools. And so it's really exciting to see where the product has evolved to, and who our customers are today, and the just incredible things that they do with them.
Yeah, so you are kind of one of like the OG members of the Engage team. So I'm curious with that kind of sort of legacy at this company. Can you share some insights into trends you're seeing lately in terms of tech adoption within business? You've been in this industry for a while, you've seen a lot of different things. What are the highlights right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still a lot of folks that are replacing kind of legacy processes, right? So 12 years ago, the pharma industry was coming from presenting on paper to presenting digitally, and there's a lot of struggles with paper, and our customers today still, they still have paper brochures and paper, flip boards that they present to customers with, and you have problems like the cost of printing, the cost of updating things, like no ability to measure any of that. You know, millennial looking at you like, are you seriously showing me a magazine to, hold my attention? Like, I got
Yeah,
TikToks to watch
I don't
or
think
whatever.
most of us have gotten a magazine in a while. So,
I subscribe to one magazine. It's great. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the trend I'm seeing is that we're seeing more software that's specifically designed for either an industry or a specific task. Right back in the 1990s, right? You had Word and PowerPoint, and everything was these software products that everybody had to use, and you had to figure out how to use it for yourself. And now we're getting to a point where we have all these smaller software companies that develop software for more niche audiences. And so finding the right software where someone's gone and done like a lot of the legwork and figured out what your problems are that you don't even know about, picking those things, being really smart, and like building this collection of software, building up your tech stack using things that are very specifically designed to solve your needs. And if you do that, then you're going to be 10x more efficient, right? And people always say like 10x is kind of where you want to be in terms of like, oh, why am I going to go replace something that I'm doing already? Well, if it's 10 times better, then the adoption, the effort you put in there is going to be worth it.
I mean, that would certainly get me to sign up for something if it was 10 times better. I feel like that's significant, significant and sufficient inducement to change my process.
Yeah, and
So
that's totally what we strive for, right?
I
So
hope
it's like,
so.
why do I want to come from PowerPoint? Why do I want to come from a PDF? Or what am I doing today? We're like, well, we're trying to engineer it so that you're gonna get 10 times more value than what you were doing.
So, speaking of getting value and thinking about the value that a software can bring to your business, when it comes to incorporating new products into your team, what are some other like key considerations or criteria that people should keep in mind before they look to adopt new technology, new software?
Yeah, I mean, obviously people are super busy in their day-to-day roles and doing whatever their job is. Um, and so if you're going to ask someone to adopt new software, if you come to me, right, you're my manager, you come to me and say, Alex, we're doing this new thing. I'm going to be like, I don't know. Do I really have to learn something new? Like what I'm doing is probably fine. Is it going
I
to be
just
10x?
did that to you like 2 weeks ago.
And it's like, then there's gonna be like a learning curve. And, so obviously you gotta make sure that you communicate the value of what it is, right? I think you want to get people excited about it. There's always kind of this like, salesmanship moment in getting somebody to adopt something new. Um, so yeah, like communicating the value of new software, really getting people excited to use it. I think getting people involved in it early on. So like if you're setting it up, get people's feedback on what the setup's going to be. That way they feel a little bit of ownership in it. For instance, when people are rolling out Engage and they get their sales guys involved in the presentation design, now they have like a kind of a stake in it. They're more excited about it. Like they take ownership of that content instead of what could happen is someone's like, here's your new sales presentation, go use it. And they're like, I don't know. But when they're like, all right, it's finally time to launch this thing that you guys, worked on and, gave feedback on and helped us shape, then they're like, all right, let's get started. They're super excited to get going. So yeah, really, making sure people are excited, making sure that it's as easy as possible to, to roll out the new software and, make it part of your daily, life at work, right? You don't want to have some software that you're like, oh, I'm going to use this like once a quarter, right? Like we designed Engage for people that are going to use interactive content every single day, and really transform their experience at work.
So, along the same lines, what are some challenges that you see businesses face when they're integrating new products? Like, I think of especially business leaders who maybe aren't technology leaders, like thinking about the sales manager or the marketing manager or that like owner who's not a tech guy, but like really wants to implement these new products into their business. What are those challenges that they're running into, and how would you suggest they overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know, I guess if you don't know what or like how to implement something, then you should probably find someone to help you implement it,
Hmm.
right? Like if you're going to implement Engage and you don't have a sales methodology, right? We've got a bunch of friends and partners that have sales methodologies, right? You don't want to go and try and like make that up. That's
Yeah,
a
that's not a
not
recommended path to make up your sales process. I would suggest that you
it,
find some help
or
for that.
like if you have no graphic design sense and you know that you don't know why some text is bigger than others, right? Again, we've got some friends, we've got some programs internally, and where depending on how much help you need, like we can help you or we can introduce you to somebody who can help you. And sometimes you just need help, right? Sometimes it's a DIY project, and sometimes you need to hire a professional to help you, you know,
Yeah.
get it
I feel
set
like
up the right
that's
way.
that's really relatable to a lot of our customers because they're in, home improvement, home services, professional space. Sometimes you can go up and put a single shingle on your roof, and sometimes you need to hire somebody who knows what they're doing to put a whole new roof on.
Totally. Yeah. There's some things you shouldn't try without experience. Most homeowners are like, I'm not doing electricity or plumbing.
Yeah, I don't touch
Your
either of those. I don't touch
house
either
can
of them.
flood,
I
your house can
I
flood
think
or burn down.
I think this is a really good call out though, because I see this with other technologies. Like I think a lot of our listeners know that I run a lot of our sales operations tech stack. And I watch people try to implement CRMs who, maybe they don't have a lot of time on their hands. They're really busy, they're an owner or they're a super busy sales manager. And implementing a system like that's really hard. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of thought and a lot of energy. And your time, thought, and energy as a sales leader or an owner might be better spent doing something else and paying somebody to implement that CRM for you. Get it done right the
Yeah.
first time and get it done faster. Like, I think that's a really good call out that sometimes you're not always the best expert at something, it might be outside of your frame of reference. And it's a good idea to hire somebody to come in and own the project for you.
Yeah. And then once it's like CRM is a great example, that's a total pain in the butt to configure and know. And you need someone, right? Because you need the learning curve of the software, and then you actually have like the work to do it. I always say that like if you're in an office and we're virtual, but at least we have coworkers. But if you're in an office environment and you're trying to like implement new software, then at least you have like one person who knows the software, and you can go and everyone can go ask the person, hey, where's the button for this, right?
Mhm.
And I've seen so many times people are like, oh, there's just one button you have to click, right? And if someone just points it out to you, you'll figure it out. But like you can get hung up on a little thing and spend like hours looking for it. But if you have someone that already knows their way around and you can lean on them, they can guide you in the right path and get it to the point where, it's like riding a bicycle downhill and it's easy.
Yeah, it's having that champion, whether that person is someone who's already on your team or a consultant that you bring on to help you through that project. Like, who is that champion who's going to help you bring that product into your business?
Right. And they have to understand not only like how to push the buttons, which is usually pretty easy. And with Engage, that's what we found is that people don't have a hard time pushing buttons. But like for Engage, like the content side of things, or like if you were setting up a CRM, like knowing, what's the most efficient way to organize your tables and what's the stuff you want to track and all
Mhm.
those things. And so having someone who's done that very much uphill, like gone through the learning curve and figured all that stuff out, right? Tap into them.
Mhm. So, Alex, you have seen Engage through a lot of iterations, through the evolution of the product, through the evolution of the business, and you've built many new features. Just in my like 4.5 years here, you've built a ton of new features. So, as a product designer, how do you balance incorporating cutting edge technology while prioritizing the user friendly nature of the product? Like, we want people to be able to use it and be able to figure it out pretty easily. So, how do you thread that needle?
Yeah, I mean, we take kind of like the new user experience really seriously because we hope that we have more new users than current users, right? Like our we look towards the future. So
That's the
making
hope, is that we have new users. I really hope we
Yeah, no,
do.
it's we're not like the iPhone where half the planet is using it already. Um, but they still have room for growth, right? Um, but yeah, so we look at like that new user experience very carefully, and like how do you keep the interface really simple, right? Like there's so many products today, where you're like flying a 747 and you get in there and there's like 1,000 buttons everywhere, right? And we want to keep Engage as simple as possible and really when you're using it, let you focus on your content, right? I don't ever want to see somebody with like their presentation slide. Like I see this, my wife's working on Google Slides or whatever, and her presentation slide's like this big, and then she's got like a trillion buttons surrounding it, and I'm just like, that's no way to work because end of the day, what's most important? It's your content, right? Your content's the most important. Um, so we kind of always approach it that way. Like, how's a new user going to come in here? How are they going to find their way through? But then how can we extend that so that someone who's using it day in, day out, like a real power user, or one of our designers or partners who's creating a lot of content, how can they have features that are really powerful and they're also just like a button click away?
Yeah, I think it's really something that we talk about a lot when we're talking about customers is like, who is the person that is going to be using this part of the product? Like, what is that difference between that power user, that person who's creating a ton of content versus like your normal sales rep who just really needs to access great content? I really like thinking about that from like that new user perspective versus the power user. Like they do have very different needs.
Totally. Yeah. And I always say we have like a wide range of skill sets of folks that are using Engage, right? We've got everyone from the sales rep who, they're picking up their iPad, they're tapping a presentation and they're flipping through it, right? And that should require like no technical training. It actually requires a lot of
It's a
training
lot, a lot of
in
methodology
terms of
training.
salesmanship, right? But all the focus should be on, how to present the content, right? The actual, like the using the software should be completely invisible. And then at the other end, right, you've got these professional designers who are building content for, manufacturers and doing like professional design work. And then in the middle, we also have a lot of folks that are maybe going to our marketplace and downloading some page template packs and customizing it, with their own photos and their own content. And we've seen the folks in the middle make incredible stuff. Folks who don't have experience using much more than anything more than PowerPoint, coming in, putting their content together, and leveraging a lot of the pre-built design work that's inside of Engage, and making really great stuff.
So Alex, as we wrap up, I'm going to ask you our typical question. We have a classic question that we use at the end of every podcast episode, but because you are you're a slightly different person to have on here. You're not a sales methodology trainer, you're a product designer. I've got a little twist for you. What is one product or tech trend that you think every business should be on top of to stay ahead of the curve right now, and why?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be AI, and there's a lot of different versions of AI that are out there, right? We've got Midjourney that does image generation. It's OpenAI's ChatGPT, which does text things on your iPhone. Apple's using AI and machine learning to do things like autocorrect on your keyboard, and there's all these different ways that people are using it. We've been playing with it with Midjourney to do text to image and to do image generation. I always ask it to make me a picture of Keanu Reeves installing a replacement window. And a year ago, it would give me a Keanu Reeves with like 8 fingers, and the window would be like going through his head. But now it's getting to be like quite good. Is it good enough to use? Like I've tried to sneak some images in, and sometimes people get like creeped out by it. They're like, "What's wrong with that?" But I feel like in a year, maybe it will be viable. Even on Adobe stock, we'll be sorting through images, and an AI image will be mixed in there. And then there's some other services that have quite interesting uses of AI. Like we use Chorus to analyze some video calls and take notes for us, and that's got a really cool feature where it takes the entire transcript and it writes a summary for you. And sometimes the summary is good, and sometimes it's absolutely horrible. But it's still like, you have to look at it as like you're still in year one, right? And maybe by year 2, it won't be that much better. But like in 10 years, where will it be? And so how do you think about that? Like how do you just pay attention to that space so that you're maybe building your own data set for when you can come in and have an AI analyze like some massive amount of information for you and give you an answer that would have been nearly impossible to do manually.
Well, Alex, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a real treat for me to get to talk to you about something other than current projects that we're working on, get to pick your brain a little bit. So yeah, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. I'm going to get back to work now, but
I approve. Thanks for listening to the Engaged podcast. Be sure to visit engage.io for more information on how to create, share, and measure your way to success. If you love the Engaged podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time.